Welcome everyone to Talking Textiles. I'm Mark Harries, member of the ATA and Vice Chairman of the United States Industrial and Narrow Fabric Institute. I'm also the president of Bally Ribbon Mills. The goal of this podcast is to get to know the wide variety of positions and markets that make the advanced textiles world turn. We'll be talking to professionals in different roles throughout this series to help inspire the next generation of textile professionals and anyone interested in learning about our journey in the world of textiles. Today, in particular, we'll be focusing on the importance of advocacy in influencing government regulations and other policies. ATA offers advanced textiles content throughout the year, including the upcoming Outlook Conference taking place June 2nd to the 5th at Lambeau Field, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Hear real-time information, share perspectives on current trends, and listen to leaders in the industry share their insights on various important topics. Please visit textiles.org/events to learn more. On today's episode, titled USI-NFI Advocacy Days, myself, along with Joey Smith, chairman of USI-NFI, also director of sales and business development at MMI Textiles, and Chad Twombly, board director of USI-NFI and Vice President of Direct Sales at Herculite Products. We'll have a discussion to provide info on and promote the upcoming Advocacy Days on March 4th and 5th. And now let's talk textiles. Hi, I'm Mark Harries. Today, myself, Joey Smith, and Chad Twombly are your featured guests. Welcome to the podcast. Joey, do you want to start us off?
So my name is Joey Smith. I'm the chairman of USI-NFI and also the director of sales and business development for MMI Textiles. Couple of things that we're going to talk about today are just in relation to the advocacy days and how we prepare, some of the things that we go through and what it means to our companies. For advocacy days and why it's important to members within ATA and especially USI-NFI, we go to Washington, D.C. Every year. We talk with senators, congressmen, and their staff about very important issues related to the textile industry. Some of those things that we talk about are the Berry Amendment, which is important because we're all U.S. textile manufacturers and we want the U.S. government to buy as much U.S. textile products as we possibly can. PFAS is also a topic of interest recently over the last several years. We also talk about trade issues. We talk about a variety of different things with the congressmen and staff and just let them know how our textile industry is doing and how they can support us going forward to make us stronger. Chad, how about you talk a little bit about some of the important issues and things related to your company and your business?
Sure. My name's Chad Twombly. I am the Vice President of Direct Sales at Herculite Products, located in York, Pennsylvania. We've been a member of the USINFI for the last 20 years or so a longtime participant in this particular group and a longtime lobbying activist, I guess is what you would say. One of the things that I think of first, Joey, is the quote by JFK that says, "A rising tide lifts all boats." And as it relates to the efforts that we do together and at the lobby days in Washington, D.C., is all of the things that we talk about impact all of the U.S. manufacturers of textiles, as well as U.S. manufacturers of products that are made out of textiles in a positive light. Just by interacting with senators and congressmen and their staff, that we get the opportunity to share with them this unique industry that frankly otherwise they would know very little about. And in my experience is when we do get the opportunity to share with them what we do and they find out that they have constituencies in their own regions or their own areas of responsibility, they're very intrigued by it. And matter of fact, most of them in my experience have said, I never knew that we actually had textiles in this area of the country. Certainly that would be different in states like North Carolina. But all of them are interested. All of them find it interesting about both the fabric manufacturers as well as the people that make materials or products that are used by the government, be it the military or other government agencies that use our fabrics. Just giving them an awareness in the first place is probably it is absolutely very valuable to the effort.
Okay, Mark, how about you?
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad to be here on the podcast. Thanks for having me. I just wanted to express how Advocacy Days, as it relates to Valley Ribbon Mills specifically, but then as the overall group, I think, in terms of the company and for me, Advocacy Days is a way for us to influence policy with what's important to not only the textile industry as a whole, but our own interest as a company. I know me as a president, I don't have time to do this on my own. I wouldn't be effective doing it on my own. And I don't really have the experience to do it on my own. So being a member of USI NFI, but then also participating in the advocacy efforts, really, I get a lot of bang for my buck, honestly. They give me the knowledge, they give me the topic updates, I should say, for what's going on in Washington. Just keeping track of that is a lot of time. So I really enjoy learning all of that. And then I'd like to, what Chad said about rising tide, going as a group really provides one voice, one coherent message, which I think provides better impact to raise awareness with these legislative assistants or Congress people. One thing I know, they have so many topics that they are concerned with on the Hill that just having a large group go in and inform them of what's important to us is a really big deal. And it's our chance to show them what's important in their districts and what's important to real people with jobs in their districts. We're not just corporations floating about, but we're corporations with people living on Main Street and living in the districts, earning money, paying taxes, that sort of thing. So I think it's a chance for us to really get in there and provide our voice on what's important to us to be able to be a U.S. manufacturer, which is hard enough these days.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I really like your point about getting as many members as we can sitting at the table. When we go to DC and we meet with these congressmen, senators, and their staff, you go in there with 2 people, it doesn't really resonate as much as if you went in there with 10 people. And one of the efforts that we've had with USINFI and the military board within ATA is really to get as many people as we can so that we can advocate as a big group, but also as many states as we possibly can. The last couple of years, we've had a little bit of a decline in some of our attendance, and I think it's really been in part because we've had people in the industry that have retired and they're no longer with their companies anymore. And we've got a new group of people within these companies that can be a little bit skittish and hesitant to go there. It's a little bit overwhelming to think about getting in front of congressmen and senators. But I think in general, really, we want to focus on who should participate. We feel like anybody and everybody that has a voice in the textile industry, if you're a member of the USINFI, you've got an open invitation to come. If you're not, one of the things that we do now is that we have a first year free of charge session for you where you can come and figure out, hey, does this make sense for my company? Does this make sense for what we're trying to do and what we're trying to advocate for as well? And plus it gives you the opportunity to really get your feet wet and learn about the different topics that we're talking about and work together with the industry. And I don't know how you guys feel about just participation wise, but I think that we're all on the same voice here that we want to try to get everybody from every state that we possibly can and get as many people there because the louder the voice, the more to be heard.
I appreciate you saying that, Joey. I think that's an important point. And I think that one of the things that a lot of people think when they hear about this is, oh, this is just for people that, produce textiles. But 2 points I want to make in regard to that. First of all, it isn't just for people that produce textiles. It is for people that use the textiles that are produced as well and sell into contracts with their states, contracts with the government, contracts with anything that would somehow be influenced or impacted by government activities. And this kind of leans into a little bit of some of the topics that we talk about. Certainly, Barry is a big topic that we spend a fair amount of time talking about, but we also talk about some other aspects that are important to the strength of our U.S. textile marketplace as a whole. For instance, de minimis, which is this weird word that has to do with currently de minimis allows countries or companies from countries across the world to ship in materials, clothing, any kind of, I guess, transaction, as long as that transaction is under a certain dollar amount. It's like $600 or something. It's a big number. What we're trying to do for the US textile market is influence and make a difference and potentially challenge congressmen and senators and their groups of influencers to consider reducing de minimis, because every time that someone ships directly from a de minimis port to your house, they're not paying any duties on that, which is really negatively impacting not just US manufacturers, but the US retail marketplace, the brick and mortar retail marketplace. So that's a big topic that isn't necessarily military specific. We could get into more detail about that later if you like, but there's lots of topics like that. For instance, we speak against the use of Chinese concentration camp victims of the Uyghur religion that are being negatively treated and are basically effectively concentration camps in China, where they're using these people to pick cotton as slaves effectively. We're speaking out against that. That has nothing to do with military. That has everything to do with being a good world citizen. So lots of topics, not all of them military, that are important to not just the textile manufacturers, but also to people that sell finished goods here in the United States. So to that point, when Joey says that we want people from all over the country in every state, we need you there if you are selling into the United States and you want to have a voice with your congressmen or senators, because you're going to have a lot louder voice being in their areas than anybody else would who's not a constituent of theirs. So absolutely want as many people as possible to participate in this.
Yeah, and Joey, you brought up another point about, I guess, who actually from your organization, a lot of retirements, and I was thinking about that, and this is pretty accessible. I think anyone, as long as they can articulate your company's interests, could go. It doesn't have to be a president, doesn't have to be a vice president. I really don't think position probably matters as much. Most of the time, honestly, you're speaking to legislative assistants. They're young. They relay the messages to the Congress people. Every now and then you get a congressperson or senator in the actual meeting. Really, the message and the amount of people, a diverse set of industries, states, the people in the meeting, that probably matters more than positions. If I weren't able to go, I don't think I'd have a reservation sending someone else. Sales and marketing, they're always good to go because they talk about your company all the time. That's their job. But quite honestly, HR people could go talk about jobs, talk about real people. Quality engineers could go talking about what it takes to produce things in the United States, regulations, how it affects the companies. New up and comers. It's a good way of showing a future leader what it means to support your business and opportunities to take on more responsibilities. That'd be a good thing to do. So it's really, I feel like a lot of times people are, oh, I can't go, I can't participate this year. Hey, Mr. President, we don't need you. You can send anybody. And again, I think that'd be good to get a lot more people. I'd rather see more people than just 5 presidents that happen to be able to go. And I think that'd be a great group to have this coming year. Because honestly, we don't do any of the work. Sarah and Augie, so we have has 2 people, Augie Tantillo and Sarah Beatty. They're the real ones who do the research. They let us know basically everything we need to. They're invaluable to us. They're fantastic. We learn everything we need from them. So send who you can. More important to send somebody than necessarily yourself.
Yeah, and I think the Just to add real quick to that, doesn't matter if you're a multi-billion-dollar company that has 60,000 employees, or if you're a small business, everybody has a vote. And those votes really matter to the congressmen and senators, and they really want to get engaged with us and talk about the issues that we're having to make sure that our business is sustainable and continues to thrive and continues to grow. Transitioning in, what does this do for my company? We do a lot in the military side of things. I'd say probably over 50% of our business is military, tactical, and law enforcement. So we have several programs that we supply in the tier one suppliers that support the DoD. That goes into different military vests, goes into different military apparel applications. And with the Berry Amendment, it's really important to make sure that we continue to fight for that, because if the Berry Amendment goes away, then we're going to spend less money, obviously, to try to get products from overseas, but then it becomes a national security problem if we, let's say, have a war with China and we're getting all of our materials from China. We're unable to get those products anymore. And then once you do that, the textile industry is basically gone. If you need to come back to it and get more materials, they're not going to be there to support the military and the U.S. government. So it's for our company, those things, the NDA, obviously PFAS, we talked a little bit about that, but PFAS is a huge thing that is gaining a lot of attention, and a lot of companies are moving away from that. And we're trying to navigate that as well, because we do supply a lot of products that do have PFAS. DWR, water repellency, and oil repellency with C6 technology is very protective. And the new C0 technology is great for water repellency, but for oil and chemical repellency, there's just not a product out there that can really meet the needs and properties of the finished material or garment. It really is a testament to us going in there and talking with them, and then really realizing how, with a company our size, which is a small business, we've got about 45 individuals in our company. It really does matter to the small guys, and it matters to the big guys. And I don't know, Chad, how does it affect your business, and in what ways does it affect your business in talking with these folks?
Yeah, good question. The PFAS thing is important, and I think that's certainly one that is important to Herculite as well. And matter of fact, Herculite makes products that are PFAS free. So at one level, I think what's more important than how it helps Herculite is how it helps our industry. Because frankly, PFAS is an example. It would be probably more beneficial for me if people would say we don't want PFASs in our stuff, because all of our stuff is PFAS free. But ultimately, like you said, Joey, there's just products out there that don't work well yet that have PFASs in them, and not all PFASs are bad. There are some bad ones, and the industry as a whole has stepped away from the utilization of the bad ones. But the important point to make, as opposed to get in the weeds about PFAS, is to say the people that we talk to know very little about this topic, and they're dependent on professionals like Joey that understand it and can talk about it clearly, and can make examples of where these products are valuable to use, and where we as an industry are moving as far as technical advancements where they're not going to be used in the future. But absent that information, they're hearing from other people that have other interests to say that all PFASs are bad and we need to ban them completely. But that's a pretty myopic view that doesn't take into consideration the protection of the soldiers or the firefighters or people that absolutely need some of this technology until better technology comes along. So it is educating our representatives on the kind of nuanced things that they might not hear from other people. And I think sometimes I just assume they already know all this stuff, right? Because it's important and they should know it. They don't, because I think Mark said earlier, they have so many things on their plate, so many things that they have to know about, so many different topics, that if we're not going in, communicating, sharing these issues, then they're probably not as informed as they could be. So that's one of the things that's valuable to Herculite, is just making the folks aware of things that are critical to the future success of our industry. And if the industry is successful, Herculite's going to be successful. So that's our position on it.
Yeah, I just saw an email from ATA about 2025 and the NDAA. Berry amendment had a good change with a little more transparency in a respect for was it the DNADs? But then also the PFAS, there was no specific language yet, which probably industry wise it's coming. But what is nice is when someone doesn't come and say, okay, it's all banned right away, and no one has any suppliers or supply chains aren't built up yet. So it allows at least people who do use them to look for the alternatives, figure out how to adjust to market demands and not have it be overnight, and then mitigate some of the disruptions that might happen. But it was good to see some clear things we were asking for in Advocacy Days, and actually it made it into the NDAA. So what we're doing seems to work. One of the things I was always really surprised about was the people in our meetings are very receptive. They want to hear from you. That also makes it easy. You're never going into a meeting and someone sits down and gives a big sigh and, what do you want? Every single person there is, okay, what can we do for you? What do you got? And you just tell them, hey, I'm a company in your district. I didn't know if you knew about this, but here you go. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, it's good to know you were thinking that way. My congressperson or my senator was, they're in a group, discussing this topic right now. I'll let them know what you said. So they all want to hear from you, which makes it easy. Heck, doing this podcast is probably harder than going to DC and talking about it. But anyway.
I agree with that. And I think the other thing is related to your comment right there is not only are they very receptive, but there is follow-up. We exchange phone numbers and emails. There's a lot of questions that come up during these meetings. There's a lot of follow-up that goes on after the meetings where the staff of the representatives reach out to you and they want to get more clarity on related to your business, personal issues that you're having, ways that they can help. One of the things that we talk about is the STA, which is the simplified acquisition threshold. And this was a big win for us a couple of years ago. And this is where you have a contract with the U.S. government. And if you have a contract that is below $250,000, then those parts of the government didn't necessarily have to buy Berry Amendment products. And we thought that was just really high. We kept fighting for that for them to lower it. They did lower it from 250 to 150, which was a good win. But we're continuing to fight for that. We do run into issues where some of the contracting officers, they will split up a PO into several different parts so that they can get under this threshold. And we've got examples with different people and companies in our industry that we've been able to give those examples to our congressmen and senators so they can go to bat for us when they have these discussions. And part of these amendments or legislation that's happening, they can go to bat for us and say, hey, look, guys, this is good, but here's some things that are happening right now. And if we really want to make sure that our industries are thriving and we're able to continue to compete, we got to make sure that we stay in the realm of the dynamics of the different sections related to the spending processes. And yeah, the follow-up's really good though, going back to that. I think that you're right, that they are very engaged. They want to know more. They are very unaware of a lot of the issues that our textile industry has. And I think even going back to Chad's comment on the de minimis side, I don't really feel like a lot of them know, and it's growing. I would say in the past year this has grown, but a lot of people didn't know how many packages were coming in and how many companies were going under within the textile industry.
Yeah.
It was 1.8 million packages a day coming in last year, and I think it's close to 3 or 4 million packages a day coming in now. And it's not only hurting our textile industry because we've got cheap import goods coming in with no HTS codes. You don't know anything that's going on. You've also got illicit drugs. You got fentanyl coming in. You got components where people could put together guns or equipment or anything like that. And nobody knows what's in the box because the CBP just can't go through 4 million packages a day. It's just a task that's not going to be able to happen based on the amount of people that we have working for the CBP. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that we talk about, and that, to your point, they're very receptive and follow up. I would say to you guys, what type of advice would you give to people if they are interested in this, but they're still a little bit nervous about the process and being in front of people, and maybe I'm a little nervous about talking about these things because I'm not completely educated on all the different topics.
I'll jump in on that. My story is probably a good one in relation to that. I'm in sales, so I talk to people all the time. But I can tell you the first time of probably 4 or 5 years ago when I started lobbying, I was terrified. I'm going to this thing like I'm going to talk to these really important people, and I'm just some hayseed from wherever trying to figure things out. But Augie and Sarah do a really good job getting us up to speed, helping to train us on the topics and our talking points. And I think Mark said it, everybody is really much more receptive than I thought they would be, never having ever done this before. I thought, oh, these people are going to look down on me like I'm part of the working class or something different than they look down at me on. But we're constituents that they serve. And I think that was really important for me to understand. And so the first meeting that I went on, I was a little scared, but I had someone there from ATA there with us. I think there's always someone there from either ATA or either Sarah or Augie who attend the meetings so that if you find yourself getting stuck in a corner somehow, they can help you out and throw you a lifeline. And never are you by yourself. And it's good info. They just train us really, really well. They support us really, really well. You're typically there. Mark and I have done a couple together. That's always fun to have multiple people from your area together that you can bounce ideas off and go back and forth with. Yeah, it sounds a little terrifying if you've never done it before. Let me tell you, it's not nearly as terrifying as it initially sounds. And there's lots of good training. We actually come in the day before. I don't know if we've talked about this yet, but typically if we're going to lobby on a Wednesday, we show up on Tuesday afternoon. We spend a few hours in the afternoon together getting caught up on the points and the talking points and anything that has changed recently that we might need to address with our congressmen and senators. And then we have dinner together and we go the next morning. We go out there, we hit the hill in teams, and we all have scheduled meetings. Augie and Sarah do a great job scheduling every single meeting beforehand. So the congressmen, the senators, and the different groups. Joey, who did we meet with last year at the beginning? The first meeting we met with
we normally meet with the USTR, which is the U.S. trade representatives, and then OTEX.
Yeah, Office of Textiles and Apparel.
Yeah, so we're meeting with those groups. All those meetings are scheduled. Literally, you just have to show up and you get a pamphlet, and without holding our hand, they basically hold our hand. So it is very, very comfortable and not as intimidating as it might initially sound like.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we even talked about this year possibly doing as well is maybe doing an introductory meeting prior to that, several weeks prior to the actual event, because it's a lot to take in, right? So you definitely want to try to get the bearings on the different things that we're going to be talking about, issues that we're going to be talking about. That way you can come in prepared, you can research these things, talk more freely internally with people inside of your company and say, hey, look, these are the things that we're going to be talking about on the Hill. How is this going to affect us? And are there any other topics that you want to bring up in the prep meeting that do affect your company that maybe we're not talking about? So that way we can say, okay, hey, look, let's either table it for now and put that on the agenda for next year and talk about it a little bit more, or say, that's a really good example. Maybe we need to be thinking about that a little bit more. And I agree with Chad. It's a 2-day whirlwind, but there is a lot of prep going into it. And like you said, Augie and Sarah do a fantastic job in scheduling these meetings, trying to give you enough time to go from one office to the other. We always really try to do your senator meetings at the same time and then do your congressional side meetings at the same time. So that way you're not crossing over the Hill from a timing standpoint. But it's been just from a overall participant level, from a scheduling level, everybody just does a fantastic job. And I highly encourage anybody who feels nervous about it. And you can always reach out to ATA and get our contact information. And I think all three of us would be more than happy to sit down with you on the phone and talk about it and give you our experiences and let you just know what it's like.
Very practically, wear comfortable shoes.
Yeah, that's,
Oh yeah.
if you're a lady, you don't want to wear heels. And if you're a gentleman, you don't want to wear shoes that you would wear to a black tie fair. You want to wear, but nice looking. But you do want to dress up, right? You know, you
True.
suit and tie. You want to wear a nice outfit. You want to make sure that you're representing your company and showing them that you mean business.
Yeah, but if you're wearing a suit and tie, you won't be the only one wearing sneakers too. I definitely
That's right.
see that. It's the suit and tie, and you look down, and there's some guys running shoes, and they're doing a lot of work that day. And I don't think anyone really cares either.
And the only person you're going to see that's not wearing business clothes is Fetterman, and he'll be in sweats, but that's okay.
Oh yeah, from our home state, PA. Yeah, and that's yeah, you get plenty of handouts. You don't have to memorize anything. You get a map, you get your schedule, customize your schedule based on your business, and you're good to go. That's what I had tried to express before. You can show up not knowing anything and you'll do well. And also the day of, you're also along for the ride a little bit. They have the schedule, but sometimes you show up and things happen and there's votes going on and other stuff. And you just play it by ear. You deal with things as it goes along, and that's that. And one thing, they're not, these are not detailed dissertations. You have 15, 20 minutes in a talk. So you have a short little time to just, you get your points out quick. They're on to the next meeting. So you just hit bullet points. So that makes it easy in a way. And then I know I've been in with you, Chad. I always like to make it a little personal. Hey, we're talking about these big things, but then also talk about, oh yeah, my employees here, and I really could use one of the big topics for everyone, obviously, is like workforce. Oh yeah, working with local area schools and workforce development. Just something that kind of gets them thinking about the municipality or their local district, about not necessarily the big topic, but hey, I'm a company here and this is also an important thing. And they all like to hear about the skills and career paths in their district and taking care of people in their district. So that always is a good thing I try to bring up. And it's also, I like to bring up, we're not here trying to make more money. I'm here to, so I can keep hiring people in your district. I can keep people employed. I can develop their skills and provide paths to those careers. I'm asking for these things not just to make money and line my pockets. It's to make your area that you're in charge of a better place by
I know
employing
that
people.
Joey has had this experience as well, but and one of the things is one of the weird benefits, but it absolutely was a benefit, is our congressman has come and visited our plant here in Emmetsville, Pennsylvania. And I think that's good for them, but I also think it's good for our associates because they're like, hey, we do something really important, so much so that a congressman of the United States showed up and wanted to see what we do and hear from us and see what we're making right here in their district. And I think that had a benefit to Herculite in just helping our associates to keep the right perspective about what they're doing. And it also helped our congressman in the sense get the ear of some constituents in his region. And so I think, Joe, you have an example of that too, where you've had people visit your facility.
Yeah, we recently had Sher Brown, who's senator in Ohio. Unfortunately, he lost the election this year, so he's out the door. But he was a real big advocate for the textile industry. And every time we went to their facility, into their office, they were very engaging. They were very concerned about things that we came up with. And we got several companies within the Ohio region that, like Seaman Corp and ourselves, that would be in there. And it's just having somebody like that come to your facility and talk about how important it is for the textile industry, considering we've lost over 20, probably 20 facilities have shut down over the last 12 to 18 months. It's really encouraging that with all of the stuff going on in the world and all of the things that they're fighting for in DC, that they still have an interest in our markets and our productions and our people. And in talking with the people at our facility, they were just very impressed, whether they were Democrat or Republican, right? I mean, it didn't matter. It's about supporting the business and the company and the industry as a whole. And it's really special when that happens. And I will say, In North Carolina, I know Virginia Fox has been to a lot of different facilities, and she rotates pretty good around the area. A lot of these guys and ladies, they like to come see facilities. They like to see what you're doing. They like to see what you're producing. And it doesn't have to be a military product. It can be home furnishings. It can be tent and awnings. It can be backpacks. It can be whatever. They just want their people in their states to work. And if they can have a voice to lift up businesses and make them better and make them grow and help them out when they need help, then that's what we're there fighting for, is to gain that support at every cost. From a topic standpoint, we really talk about a couple of different things. We talk about trade. So we've been talking about 301 tariffs. We've been talking about MTB, which is the miscellaneous tariff bill, basically, which allows products that are not made in the U.S. to come in without a duty. We talked about the Berry Amendment. Chad talked about the de minimis. We're fighting hard for that. But there's a litany of different things that we talk about. And I would suggest if you do have any interest in this, please reach out to ATA, Tara Houston, or Janelle Buckley. They'll be a good resource to get you some information. You're more than welcome to reach out to Chad, Mark, or myself. We're always here to support you and answer questions because we're all in this together, right? We're all in this together to make our industry better. To Mark's point, it's not me making $10 more on a product. It's about the survival of our textile industry and us continuing to be a sustainable and just an industry that's going to continue to grow. Because we've seen over the last 20 or 30 years where a lot of stuff has been taken out of the US and now it's in China, now it's in the Asia region, it's down in Mexico, and our workers are not working as much as they would like. We do a lot. We talk about a lot. We do a lot. It's a great couple of days. And I would highly suggest anybody who's interested, please reach out to us. We'd love to have you. Plus, we have a little bit of fun too. So,
yeah. Let me wrap up my thoughts. And anybody that's made it this long through the podcast that's not Joey, Mark, or I's parents should probably thank you that you made it this far along. And if you did make it this far along, this means to me that you care about our U.S. textile and textile fabrication market. And I say something to employees that come into my office to complain. I say, if you can come, you're welcome to come and complain, but if you're going to complain, you have to have a solution as well. So where I'm going with that is if you want to complain about what's going on in America and the government and how we're losing jobs to China and all that, go ahead and complain. But this is your opportunity to actually do something about it. And we would love to have you come with us. How successful we are, believe it or not, we are more successful than you might think. We talked about some of the successes we had earlier. And so we do have a voice. We do have an opportunity. You have a voice as a business. You have people, elected officials that care about your voice. And this is your opportunity to educate them about what you're doing, what's important to you, and why it should be important to them. So that's basically all we're trying to do, is get you to understand that you have a voice and that you have a vehicle, that ATA provides this vehicle through these lobby days. And we'd love to have you there and support you in your efforts to share your voice.
Yeah, thanks, Chad. That was really well said. I don't really have too much to add to that other than you mentioned your voice. I always did feel like, what is little old me going to contribute to these lobby days when we're trying to lobby against multinational corporations with billions of dollars? But somehow it works and we make it work. And ATA really does a great job of organizing us through USINFI and keeping us to task, giving us the information that we need and get us involved. If you're available on March 4th to the 5th, arrive on the 4th, learn all you need to know, have a nice dinner with some real nice folks, and then on the 5th, have a whirlwind day of chats with the legislators. You know who to call, us three.
invite everyone that can possibly come. It's a great experience. If you've never been to DC, that is an experience of itself. But being in the halls with all of these people, all these congressmen, senators, their staff, being able to see all of the different other conglomerates and companies and associations that are there talking about their needs and wants, and really seeing how we are just a needle in a haystack. And that's why it's so important for us to go in there and talk. So definitely mark your calendars, March 4th and the 5th. We'd love to see you in DC. It's going to be a great time.
Part of the benefits of USI NFI and those dues pay for our lobbying efforts, pay for Sari and Augie through their companies to do all this work for us. So normally we do require that someone who goes be a member of USI NFI through part of this. However, if you're a first timer, we waive that. You don't have to be part of USI NFI. If you're really curious about what it's like and how to do it, you can go without being a member of USI NFI. And then if you really see the value, really like it, become part of our group, pay those dues. Obviously, that'll help, the group and fund, this work. And then you can join us from thereafter.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. I hope this was beneficial. Like I said, mark your calendars for March 4th and 5th. And please reach out to the ATA staff if you have any questions. You can also reach out to us. They've got our contact information. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. And thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of ATA Talking Textiles. ATA is a not-for-profit association representing the international specialty fabrics marketplace. Learn more about the events, workshops, and webinars ATA hosts throughout the year at textiles.org/events.